Hollywood is not designed to entertain you. Entertainment is simply the vehicle used to gain your attention, but the real currency of the entertainment capital is influence, compliance, and control. Most people fool themselves into thinking the industry operates like a standard meritocracy, where talent alone dictates success. The evidence shows a completely different reality. The establishment has historically pushed back against independent figures, but one specific voice has turned exposing the industry's dirty laundry into an art form. The recent podcast run of this unfiltered comic didn't just break the internet. It laid out a roadmap of industry behavior that left even veteran broadcasters completely stunned. 5 distinct moments revealed a system so deeply compromised that mainstream outlets are still struggling to contain the fallout. If you've spent any time online over the last 2 years, you witnessed one of the most disruptive moments in modern media history. On January 3, 2024, a single sit-down interview on Club Shay Shay pulled over 80 million views in a matter of days, easily eclipsing the viewership of major television broadcasts and sporting events. For over 2 decades, this individual has maintained a reputation as an unpredictable truth-teller, but the statements made at the beginning of 2024 transformed him from a standard industry critic into a cultural focal point. Within the first few minutes of that conversation, a warning was issued that sent shockwaves through executive suites. All major players operating in the shadows would face exposure. At the moment, the public treated it as standard comedic hyperbole, but everything changed when the legal system finally caught up to the industry's worst-kept secrets. The validation of those warnings began to manifest rapidly. By late 2024, federal law enforcement agencies executed high-profile raids, resulting in major racketeering and trafficking charges against one of music's biggest moguls. Instantly, the internet rushed back to the January interview with a completely different perspective. The primary revelation that everyone keeps circling back to involves the explicit rejection of elite industry circles. On that broadcast, he detailed turning down contracts worth $50 million on 4 separate occasions, specifically citing the pressure to attend highly secretive, compromised private gatherings. He explicitly stated that certain high-profile figures expect total compliance, and that saying no requires having the receipts to protect yourself. When the subsequent federal indictments detailed systemic abuse and compromised gatherings, the public realized this wasn't just backstage gossip. The structural timing of these statements reveals a brilliant understanding of public information. The foundational legal filings detailing these elite parties had actually begun circulating in late 2023, just weeks before the viral interview took place. While the rest of the entertainment industry remained completely silent out of fear or complicity, he used his massive platform to name names on the record. This boldness created an immediate contrast between independent creators and protected industry insiders. By speaking confidently at a moment when institutional heads were down, he established a standard of fearlessness that changed how audiences view celebrity culture. But the warnings extended far beyond a single music mogul. The second major revelation centered on a broader warning regarding industry behavior. He openly stated that individuals who operate in secret corners would see their actions brought to light, claiming to possess knowledge that made institutional figures uncomfortable the moment he walked into a room. By the conclusion of 2024 and moving into 2025, as multiple high-profile civil suits and criminal investigations gained momentum, the internet began treating these statements like absolute prophecy. Fan edits and compilation videos racked up millions of views, framing him as a visionary who saw the future. The reality is far more calculating. Vague assertions about hidden misdeeds are incredibly difficult to disprove, allowing them to spread rapidly across algorithms while leaving room for the audience to connect the dots themselves. This narrative shifted into a much darker territory during a high-profile appearance on the Rogan Experience. Fresh off his initial viral momentum, the conversation moved past standard industry rivalries and focused directly on what he termed a hidden blueprint inside the entertainment system. This blueprint dictates exactly who receives massive financial backing, who remains protected when serious allegations surface, and who is quietly erased from the public eye when they refuse to cooperate. He suggested that the top tier of the entertainment business frequently overlaps with compromised global networks designed to enforce silence through blackmail. Even a host accustomed to wild theories struggled to push for concrete documentation, highlighting how these systemic operations are built specifically to avoid a paper trail. The broader picture described matches a pattern that industry veterans have quietly pointed out for decades. Access to the highest levels of fame and wealth is rarely free. It requires individuals to overlook compromise, ignore systemic abuse, and sometimes sacrifice their own personal boundaries just to remain in the room. He has consistently maintained that his refusal to cross these lines is the exact reason his career faced massive institutional hurdles, including years of legal chaos and media framing designed to make him appear unstable. When major criminal cases finally broke open the realities of these private events, the public began to realize that what was once dismissed as paranoia was actually a highly accurate description of industry gatekeeping. The most critical revelation, however, is one that the general audience completely missed. Late in 2024 at a media festival, and again in mid-2025 on a prominent sports and culture podcast, he pulled back the curtain on his own methods. He admitted that the viral interview was not an emotional outburst or spontaneous confession. It was a highly calculated, engineered operation designed specifically to disrupt the careers of his competitors and exploit the platform's distribution algorithms. He openly compared his role to a ruler returning to enforce order on an industry that had grown undisciplined. This admission recontextualizes the entire phenomenon. A masterful media operator leads with undeniable truths, such as documented industry misconduct and recognizable rivalries, to establish absolute credibility with the audience. Once that trust is secured, they can weave in massive, unverifiable claims about hidden rituals and systematic darkness that travel instantly across social media because they cannot be easily debunked. This doesn't mean the underlying critiques of the industry are false. It means that the delivery of truth in modern media is always tied to a sophisticated strategy for attention. Navigating this landscape requires understanding both the reality of the message and the brilliance of the machine delivering it.